Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi. Use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. My goodness, do we have a lot to get to on the show here today. The Brewers completed the MLB draft over the weekend. 20 new draft picks, potentially all of them added to the organization. Probably not all, but still 20 new picks by the Brewers. We will get into that coming up here on the show, but also lots of changes to the Brewers roster over the weekend after a pretty brutal weekend for the big league club. Playing out in Pittsburgh, they lose all three games. So it gets rained out on Friday night. So they end up having a doubleheader on Saturday, and the Brewers lose both games of that doubleheader, and then they come out and they just look completely gassed and flat on Sunday and just get completely obliterated in that finale, and they limp essentially into the All-Star break by getting swept by the Pirates. There's just something about facing the Pirates the last series of the first half. We've seen it multiple times over the years. The Brewers just they can play well against the Pirates pretty much 95% of the season. But whenever that series is against them right before the All-Star break, the Brewers look like just absolute garbage when they play against them. So look, it's a tough game. It was supposed to be Jacob Mizorowski versus Paul Skeens, but Pat Murphy announced on Saturday night that Miz was going to be pulled back from that. He was feeling a little bit of fatigue. They wanted to rest him a little bit heading into the All-Star break. They've obviously used him quite a bit in the first half of the season, so they want to get him some rest. He will not be pitching in the All-Star game. He will go to Philadelphia, but he will not be pitching. And he is going to get some rest here to kind of recover, which I do get. I mean, the Brewers have been mulling it over for a couple of days there. And, I mean, with Miz, the dominant stretch that he was on, and then his past couple of starts, nowhere near as dominant. It probably is for the best for him to just kind of have that time to kind of rest, let his body recover a little bit, because this is his first full season going through this. He came up in mid-June last season. So this is his first full year in the big leagues. So wanting to get him that kind of rest, especially with the importance of him now, that is going to be crucial because they got him to take care of. And this rotation is going to be increasingly reliant upon him as well. Because there were some injuries here to this rotation that we also have to talk about on top of the horrible series that it was. But Kyle Harrison has been placed on the IL with forearm tightness, and that is an alarm bell going off most places. He'd been talking about some elbow soreness that he was dealing with. It ends up being a forearm injury that Kyle Harrison has that has him placed on the IL. So that is mildly concerning when you see that with any sort of pitcher. But Kyle Harrison basically stepping up to being the pitcher that he is this year, having the success that he's had in the first half, being that number two pitcher on this team behind Jacob Mizorowski. He is an incredibly crucial part to this starting rotation. They need him out there, and if he's got that bout of a forearm issue, of an elbow issue, that is concerning. They're going to have to take care of that. They need him down the stretch, and that is something to be very much concerned about here. As this weekend unfolded, Robert Gasser was recalled. Gasser made the start on Sunday in Mizorowski's place, so Gasser is going to be part of the rotation going forward. Gasser did not have the best day, but really no one on that pitching staff did on Sunday. I think they were all just ready for the All-Star break. Brandon Woodruff transferred to the 60-day IL right away, which was interesting. Obviously the initial imaging for Woodruff was a new injury to the anterior shoulder capsule. He went to go have that second opinion with Dr. Meister, and while we haven't quite gotten the full word on what that second opinion is, the fact that it's a straight move to the 60-day pretty quickly does give you a pretty good idea that it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a short-term thing. And now, I mean, with this injury, the earliest that we could see Brandon Woodruff return to this starting rotation would be early September with a 60-day IL stint. So the very earliest you're getting him back is the end of the regular season. And even then, that might be a little bit generous. But we'll get all the official details and timeline once they come back with that second opinion. Likely we'll hear that after the All-Star break when the Brewers return back home and we have that series against the Marlins. A chance to talk to Woodruff, most likely, a chance to talk to Murphy, and they should have answers by then. But either way, the quick move to the 60-day does not spell good news for Brandon Woodruff there. But also among the transactions, Braden Shoemake added to the big league roster. The Brewers acquired him from the Astros for cash. He was designated for assignment the other day. Shoemake, a former first-round pick of Atlanta. He's kind of bounced around, kind of a journeyman utility type. And now he comes in. Greg Jones designated for assignment. Okay, good. That makes sense because having the 7 outfielders seemed like way too much. You didn't really have any extra depth there in the left side of the infield. So you bring in Shoemake, who is a shortstop by trade. He is, an infielder on the left side. He can be that backup while David Hamilton is on the injured list. So I think that kind of helps balance out this roster a little bit like they needed it to be by getting Shoemake in here. Also, Coleman Crow activated from the IL and optioned down to AAA Nashville. So he's back, but he's back down in Nashville. Same thing with Carlos Rodriguez, activated from the IL where he had the shoulder inflammation, and he has been optioned to the minors as well. So the Brewers got healthier in that pitching department with Coleman Crow and Carlos Rodriguez coming off the IL, but they are going back down to AAA. But still, you lose Kyle Harrison. Brandon Woodruff is going to be out for a very long time, so that puts you in still a very tough spot in that group. But you do have a little bit of depth, but Carlos Rodriguez and Coleman Crow, a little bit lower of ceiling there, or a little bit lower of success that you're going to find with those guys versus Kyle Harrison and Brandon Woodruff out there on the mound. But that is the way the injuries have gone for them. And now, we're into the All-Star break, and that means now that it's Monday of the All-Star break, it is the Home Run Derby. And the Home Run Derby is always a fun time. They've kind of changed up the rules once again this year, but it's a tantalizing field in the Home Run Derby this season. And you got a bunch of options. Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper for Philadelphia. It's in Philadelphia this year, so those are two pretty big favorites. Kyle Schwarber, obviously seems like the favorite here on Kalshi, trading at 22%. But where I'm going, the guy that I'm looking at is Jordan Walker, currently trading at a 12% chance on Kalshi to win the Home Run Derby. Jordan Walker of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Home Run Derby, I feel like, is increasingly becoming a young man's game. Even though they've gone away from the time limits here, I feel like it's kind of a young man's game here to win the Home Run Derby. So Jordan Walker is who I've got my eyes on, and a $100 trade on him at 12% chance. $855 is the payout if he wins, and that is a pretty. You got a 1 in 8 chance. And he's trading at 12% here. You're getting some very good odds on that, and if Jordan Walker comes through, like I think he can, that's a nice big chunk of change that you can get for yourself right there. That's certainly what we love to see here during the All-Star break. But on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10, Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. All right, we got to talk about the draft now. My favorite event of now All-Star Week. It used to be in June, just kind of like a random Tuesday in June they would hold this thing. Now they hold it on a random Saturday before the All-Star break. I really don't like how they set up this whole thing, starting it on a Saturday afternoon during the middle of games, and then you have day 2 on a Sunday morning, afternoon during the middle of games. It's not when you're going to get the most eyeballs on it. I think they should do it Wednesday, Thursday during the All-Star break so you have some sort of event going on that's not relevant to the big league clubs, but it gets eyes on you during those nights. That would make the most sense if you're going to do it that way. If you want to put this during All-Star Week, put it then. Put it on the 2 days where you have nothing. But what do I know? I'm just a podcaster, right? I'm not Rob Manfred, certified genius over there. But all right. Anyways, I'm getting off my soapbox on that. Anyways, the Brewers drafted Trey Ebel in the first round, the second Ebel they've drafted in as many years. They took Brady Ebel with their Comp A pick last year, or their compensatory pick last year, and he's with Wilson, Low A Wilson, for the Brewers, and now they get his brother, the two sons of Dino Ebel, the Los Angeles Dodgers third base coach. I wonder how much longer until Dino Ebel becomes a Brewers assistant coach. I mean, you've drafted both of his sons. At some point, why don't you just bring him over to Milwaukee? I could totally see that happening at some point in the near future. Just keep it all in the family. Why not? Just get him over there. You're clearly trying to recruit Dino Ebel. You've drafted both of his sons. You clearly like the family. Just get him over here. But still, Trey Ebel, obviously you're going to have a little bit of that competitiveness between the brothers. They both play shortstop. So yeah, the Brewers go shortstop again in the first round. And look, he's a really good hitter, bunch of power, very, very strong defender, should be able to stick at shortstop. The Brewers have a lot of shortstops, so while he may have the defense to stick at shortstop, will he end up playing there for the Brewers? That's a great question, because you have like four already that are near big league ready, and you already have one that's signed to a long-term extension in Cooper Pratt. So who knows where ultimately he'll end up. But still, that's where the Brewers go in the first round. They take Trey Ebel right there. And it seemed like a bit of a reach by some senses, just with the rankings where he was. Wasn't a consensus first round talent, perhaps. But also, this is where you have the slot games that end up getting played. And the Brewers like to go under the slot value with their first round pick. They've done it a lot in recent years, and they're going to be doing it again here with Trey Ebel. They're going to be saving some money on this pick. They still have to pay him like 75% of the slot value, because he went to the combine and did all the medical paperwork. So they do have to offer him at least 75% of that slot value. But even still, you're getting some savings there to use on the rest of the bonus pool. The Brewers didn't have a large bonus pool this year, but they're getting some savings. They're going to be using that later on in the draft, but that's how the Brewers have tended to go about it. They don't go really above slot with their first round pick. They like to save money on that guy. They'll take a bigger upside swing later on, generally on day one in those first couple of rounds, and then they save a whole bunch of their extra money for those picks in rounds 11 through 20. That's the strategy that we've seen them play out over the past several seasons, and it has worked very well for them. So that's where they end up going with the first round pick, Trey Ebel. Again, really good hitter, some good pop, but great bat to ball skills, really good speed as well, and can play up the middle at short. So an exciting talent in that sense. But a lot of exciting talent really here with this Brewers draft class. They had a fantastic group. Sawyer Strasnider in the second round at 66 overall. This was a coup, absolutely. I thought Strasnider was going to be the guy at 25. When the Brewers came up at 25, Strasnider was among this group of college bats that was on the board. It's like, okay, he would make a ton of sense right here. If the Brewers took Strasnider at 25, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This tier of college bat, he was ranked right around that range by pretty much everybody doing these things. So the fact that he still ended up falling to 66 is kind of a miracle. The Brewers were kind of unsure why he fell necessarily. I mean, he did struggle a little bit late in the season, in the last couple of weeks, but still, Sawyer Strasnider, really tooled up player, great power speed combination that he has. So that's a very exciting talent for the Brewers to get with their second round pick. The fact that he was able to fall that far, and just with all the money that they have kind of like at play and the way the draft board fell, to be able to get a college bat there, especially one of that caliber. Baseball America had ranked, I think, 13th in their draft class, or someone had Strasnider 13th, and to get him at 66, huge steal. I think that's my favorite pick in this draft, the fact that they were able to get him right there. But then you go, Kyle Jones in the third, okay. Julian Garcia is the upside play in this draft. Fourth round pick out of St. John Bosco High School in California, 6'3", 205, so he's a projectable young arm. And Julian Garcia, he's a guy who can spin the ball really well, 3,000 RPM spin rates on the curveball. So he's a typical Brewers pitching lab project. 100%. Just with his stuff, he's going to be an above slot guy. Like the Trey Ebel draft pick to save money, they are using that money they saved on Trey Ebel for Julian Garcia. He is going to be well above slot here with his slot value at $585,000. So Julian Garcia is your upside play here, your kind of big upside swing to watch. After that, you get a whole bunch of college arms. After that, Aiden Knack out of Clemson. Todd Johnson, the Brewers scouting director, he dropped a Logan Henderson comp on Aiden Knack, the 5th round pick at the end of the draft. So I'll take that. We'll take a Logan Henderson comp. Ryan Oshinsky out of Brown did not pitch this past season. He underwent Tommy John surgery, but he should be ready to go for spring training in 2027. You get a couple of high school upside plays. Grant Hill, small forward. Just kidding. He's not a small forward, but still 6'4", 200 pounds. He probably could play small forward, actually. But you get Grant Hill out of Chelsea High School in Alabama. Kellen Tom, the player of the year for Arizona this past year. Brewers draft him as a first baseman. Drafting a first baseman from the high school prep ranks is a very risky kind of endeavor, but still, he's a power hitter. He can swing it. So the Brewers taking an upside play there. Then you get a couple of senior signs, and then you get the rounds 11 through 20 area there, and that's where you have kind of those big swings a little bit on guys that you're not sure that they're going to sign or not. But the Brewers take some high school players here from rounds 13 through 18. Carson Hart out of Mankato East High School in Minnesota. Left-handed hitting outfielder, really good upside play there for the Brewers if they're going to be able to sign him. Dante Bell, left-handed pitcher out of the high school ranks in California. I really like the 15th round pick, Keaton Majorana out of Colorado. He's committed to University of Minnesota, but 6'5", 220, and he can spin it too. So, I mean, there's some really good talent there, a lot of ingredients for the Brewers to work with if they can get him into the pitching lab. And I think one of the more exciting ones for me, coming out of the Wisconsin ranks, Chance Ruby from Wilmot Union High School. Let's go, Wilmot, stand up. But he's a shortstop there from Wilmot, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Really, really good feel to hit. Good speed as well for Chance Ruby. So I think very exciting that the Brewers were able to get someone from their own backyard. You get someone who is a Brewers fan. Might make it easier for them to sign him. For signing a high school kid in the 17th round, it may be a little bit more difficult to find the money and be able to sign those guys. But when you're drafted by the hometown team, it does make it a little bit easier. Brady Smith, another exciting, intriguing one in the 18th round out of the high school ranks in Missouri. I saw this video interview that was done with him after the draft on Twitter, and I retweeted it on my Twitter, by the way, at dgasper24. And Brady Smith is a very confident young man. He was saying that he's coming for Jacob Mizorowski. He wants to be on that same level with him. He's excited to get going, and he wanted to let everyone know that the Brewers got a dog. That's what they're getting. So he's bringing that bulldog mentality, and he wants to be the best. So I love it. I love the energy. I love the confidence. I think he might need to shave the mustache. Just looking at the video, the mustache is not for you, man. Like let's just focus on pitching and let's leave the facial hair for later on. I mean, it's an 18-year-old kid trying to grow a mustache. It's what you would expect. But still, very confident young man with his pitching ability. And then to end the draft, the Brewers just have to throw in the most fun storyline to end the draft with their 20th round selection. They select Karsten Sabathia the third. That's right, Sabathia. CC Sabathia's son has been drafted by the Brewers. He's a first baseman for the University of Houston, 6'4", 245. It's CC Sabathia's kid. You knew he was going to be a big dude. But he's got some pop. He can swing it. A lot of power there for the University of Houston. College senior. So, I mean, you get The Brewers are basically trying to recreate the 2008 Brewers. They already have Prince Fielder's son Jaden in the minor leagues down in Low A Wilson. Now they got CC Sabathia's son. I mean, as soon as Ryan Braun's kid is ready to be drafted, which won't be for another decade, but as soon as like that happens, like the Brewers got to be all over it, and they're just gonna all the kids of all the 2008 Brewers just bring them in, and we're gonna recreate that team. Like let's just do the 2008 Brewers, the next generation. Make that movie. Make it happen. But that's how the Brewers ended this draft. Karsten Sabathia the third. So very exciting pick there for the nostalgia reasons and everything. But overall, solid draft class for the Brewers. Again, this is a very limited budget that the Brewers have this year. They have the sixth smallest bonus pool this in the league this year to work with, just over $8 million. So not really as much for the big upside plays. Julian Garcia is the biggest one. Sawyer Strasnider, I think, is the best pick that the Brewers had. And we'll see how this draft class ends up as time goes on. But the Brewers feel good about it. They're excited for this group and to be able to get them out and get them going as well. They're also expecting this to be kind of a somewhat bigger class than they had last year. They expect to sign maybe a few more. They did take some more college guys in the rounds 11 through 20 that they're expecting to sign. So that should help them fill out that group as well. So the deadline to sign these guys is July 27th. So we'll be seeing some of those updates early on here, but some of these signings may come down to the 27th. But we'll be covering it every step of the way here on Brewers Daily. I'll also be covering it on Twitter at dgasper24, so be sure to follow me there if you have not already. Lots of great content up there. Appreciate all of you watching and listening, and let's enjoy the All-Star break here. Tons of great stuff to get to. Trade deadline season is now going to be upon us, so we'll be getting into all of that. Appreciate all of you watching, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.